we have a lot of success on the continent. Today's webinar is Academia Meets Practice. What are we trying to say? Innovations within the water, energy, and food nexus. What are we trying to say? That there is a lot of innovations. There is a lot of ideas at the at institutions of academia. There's researchers with incredible ideas. But how do we make sure we create a bridge between the ideas and the innovations on ground? How do we make sure that as we have these research ideas, we are also creating the right tools to support the bridge between academia and practice on ground. And this is what we shall be discussing. We have people from academia, we have people from practice itself, we have the ecosystem builders, which is AfriLabs, in the room. And I think this will be a very interesting conversation to find ways of linking the two and having a vibrant, practical approach to the water, energy, and food nexus across the continent. Next slide, please. This, I'll give you a bit of overview of the project. I won't get into the nitty-gritties, but I'll give you an overview of what this is about. If, in case this is your first time attending our webinars, we still have a couple of them upcoming. One is in September and one, I think, in October. So, but if this is your very first one, what is One Planet? One Planet is a Horizon Europe funded project. It started on 1st of November 2022. We have about 12 partners, 8 European and 4 African partners. All the partners are on this page. I won't go breaking down each one of them, but this forms the basis of a project. Our goal is to empower African policymakers, research, and academia, investors and citizens with the necessary tools and know-how to increase clean energy generation. And keep that in mind, clean energy generation and sustainable use of resources in Africa while reducing inequalities and cultural, social, economic gaps. We will break this down as we go, but this is what we hope to achieve, bringing every single player together to make sure we provide the right tools to support the investors, government, and every player in clean energy generation. Our mission seeks to co-design and test a toolkit, build on the water, energy, and food nexus models. It will allow us to simulate scenarios, optimizing existing resources that are already on the continent with the most appropriate policies across the continent, and of course supporting creation of better policies with clear consideration for social, climate, economic, and biophysical constraints. We will also support creation of a knowledge hub, which we've already started creating, including a set of capacity building materials that will be developed in this knowledge hub. In a nutshell, we aim to become the toolkit supporting both decision makers in the day-to-day work, but as well as provide open source tools, models, and materials to help them make informed decisions, considering the different aspects and parameters across the continent. That is the mission of the project. But we are trying to pilot this in a couple of places and then slowly but surely expand across the continent. Our case studies focus on 3 diverse African cases. This will be spanning river basin, socioeconomic, and energy scenarios. We ensure broad project applicability, advancing energy transition in Africa, and hopefully granting energy access across different communities. Which are the 3 case studies? West Africa, we'll look at Bani River, that's the Niger Basin. In southern and eastern Africa, we look at the Songwe River Basin, that's Malawi and Tanzania. And then in the far south, we look at Ingomati Usuthu Water Management Area. These are 3 case studies that are the basis for this project. Now, I won't bore you with a lot of these things, but I'll give you just a bit of this. Why is this important right now? Our leaders are already committed to an inclusive and sustainable economic growth across Africa as per Agenda 2063. The key drivers is double energy supply across the continent. Renewable energy source potential is already 1,000 times larger than projected. We're looking at falling costs of renewable energy sources, more resilient infrastructure, and this feeds into what One Planet is trying to create, which is the nexus across these different case areas. And at the end, we hope to see previous slide, please. at the end of all of this, we would like to think, in as much as we have all these barriers that are holding us back, One Planet gives us an opportunity to design a toolkit that is grounded in African ways of doing things to get us where we want to go. Please, let's move. I've already discussed what the pillars are, the knowledge communities and the platform. Let's move. Yeah, pretty much. So we have a community, which is we said we'll create a knowledge hub, and the community around the knowledge hub, the different stakeholders that we have, bring them together to make sure we have a project that fits all the stakeholders, works for all the stakeholders, and supports all the stakeholders. Next slide.
Right.
I've already discussed this. So when it's all said and done, it's very lengthy. When it's all said and done, we are back to why the webinar is happening today. Academia meets practice. And we're saying when it's all said and done, we have academia in the room, we have practice in the room, we also have enablers in the room. The conversation is about to start, but who are our panelists? Who are these people that are going to lead us through this session? Next slide, please. We have Fabio, we have Lavender, and we have Salma. Fabio is from the academia, Lavender is from private sector and innovation perspectives, and Salma is from the investors. Moving forward, please stay glued here as we listen to their perspectives, as we find that connection between academia and practice, and hopefully we have something we take home, and we'll have Q&A as we move forward. But that's it from me. Thank you. Over to our panelists. Thank you. Over to you, Fabio.
Should I start?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction. Well, yes, I am from academia, but I've been working for a part of my life in the private sector, and I've been going through, let's say, the interface. So my point of view is, let's say, bridging the different stakeholders around the innovation process. I will try to share my screen, so I will use a few slides. I hope you see them. Okay. Is it okay? Can you see the slides?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So I will go through 3 points, how we should tackle the translation of research into solutions. So which are the key points we should take into account in the process. The core part of my presentation is very practical. I've been selecting 6 examples of relevant knowledge which has been transformed into solutions, viable and relevant solutions, and which are fitting into the field of the Nexus. And then I will stress once again, this is something I'm doing in each of the presentations and public discussions in One Planet, how we should build a viable process in Africa for that. So this is always something I'm stressing here, that the change we need in the Nexus and in general to get sustainability is more than pure technological innovation. We will not have this change if we just develop and try to bring technologies into the society. What we need is a transformation at the system level. So we have to go beyond the technological solutions, and it's not just a matter of taking something which is in the labs out of the labs. The European Union took this point very seriously, and in the new, let's say, framework, they are addressing not knowledge transfer, but knowledge valorization, which means that everything that is built through research innovation in different streams should be brought into the society. So this might be know-how, data, results, and whatever. And they would be technological and not technological solutions, which should be implemented in the society through the participation of all the stakeholders, including users, citizens, and policymakers. So they stress in the new framework that the cross-collaboration and the interaction among the actors and sectors is critical. So one key point of my, let's say, message of today is that we have to try to bring in the ecosystem very diverse actors, and we should start from users. So it's not just a matter of valley of death. You know, this is very typical in the narrative of technology transfer and how to bring solutions in the society. That's a matter of gap of finance. So if you find a bridge from the academic level to the industry level, the work is done. This is not true, and we see many, many delays in the society, especially for the green innovation, because of other factors we are not taking into account. It's not just a matter of money. It's not just a matter of linking researchers with investors. The problem is broader. And in One Planet, we've been widely using this model, which is the socio-technical transition model. So you see in the left side, in the bottom, this kind of brewery of technological solutions, the niches. They have to scale up. And in the scale up, they should be in phase with what we call landscape forces, like climate change, like increase of, let's say, demographic pressure, or other needs that are emerging in the society. In order to emerge, they need a reframing of a number of domains, not only the technological domain, but also the user practice, the symbolic level. So it's the meaning of technology, and it's whatever is related with culture. They need infrastructures, they need industry structure, they need new policies, and of course the boost is from techno-scientific knowledge. So this is a journey, is not just a gap in the death, in the valley of death. And also there is a fight, because whoever is trying to bring new solutions into the society is fighting against the incumbents, and the incumbents are resisting. They have power, they have narratives, they have media, they have their own, let's say, they are making money with the old system. Think of the oil and gas, and they could play anything against the emerging solution. You see how hard it is for solar energy or for electric vehicles or circular systems to emerge. So it's a fight, and we need to, let's say, get the commitment of policymakers and large regulators of investments, like in the, the approach of the taxonomy of finance we made in Europe, in order to counterfight the incumbents. So we need a framework. The knowledge valorization is not just, one tool. It's not that we need incubators or accelerators. We need a system of tools, and these tools should cover from the, let's say, left side, that is the generation of ideas, is what we said, the brewery of ideas. We need, on the other side, something pulling innovation, like, innovative procurement from public bodies. They are asking for something new. They want electric cars instead of combustion engine cars, and then they are driving the market. Or you might say that all the taxis should be electric, or the buses, or you want a percentage of recycled plastic in everything, or biodegradable one. Then in the middle space, the space bridging the push and the pull, you need scale-up systems, and those are, let's say, a number of ways to support innovation. And then you need like an overarching policy level, which is supporting, is monitoring, and is improving the overall cycle. We have been in a specific activity I'm part of, designing a new program for the Euro-Mediterranean space in the agri-food chain and innovation in the agri-food, which is named PRIMA, a partnership funded by the Commission. We are working on a framework like this, and we identified three key tools I really support and endorse for Africa as well. So you are funding the innovation, but then we are acting with living labs, science policy labs, and communities of practice. These three tools are covering, let's say, most of what we need in this, let's say, middleware of innovation development. So living labs that are centering innovation around users. So the users are, the ones who are driving the process, and everything is built to help the users, in this case, the farmers, or maybe the food processing industries, or maybe even citizens who would like to get access to good food, or marketers and retailers where the cold chain, for example, is lacking as it is the case in Africa. And you work on the bottom-up coherence of the innovation process. And you can set up, let's say, experimental spaces for innovation, like sandboxes or any kind of validation, let's say, beds. The science policy labs are helping in driving policies from, let's say, scientific evidence and data. And you have a way to test innovation in policies in, let's say, specific and protected environments to test before expanding the policies. And for the Nexus, this will be critical, because if you link water and energy, for example, testing how this is interacting with the overall energy system and with the water availability in the fields is extremely important. And the last but not the least is the community of practice, where peers, so practitioners, scientists, farmers, retailers, whoever is interacting in a peer-to-peer environment, and people are exchanging knowledge. They are avoiding overlapping and, let's say, redundancy, which might then get into a loss of resources and money. And this is helping to pooling the capacities. So if we apply this framework to the very complex interconnected socio-technical domains of the Nexus, we have a lot of fields where we might push and pull innovation and create this middleware for innovation development, which goes beyond, let's say, the specific and individual tools. And I will show a few stories where this is, let's say, flourishing, which might be inspiring for further discussion and eventually also for learning from what these people are doing. So the first case I selected is about what Climate Kick is doing in Tanzania. So there is an attempt to develop a coherent ecosystem of innovators around, let's say, climate-sensitive technologies, including very relevant actions for the Nexus. I selected this company in this ecosystem Climate Kick is supporting, that's Coastal Biotech. They are bringing the traditional algae cultivation practices in Tanzania into a biocircular economy field. So they are linking international biotech standards and demand with local agronomic knowledge to serve this emerging market. This is what they are doing. So they got also permission to farm in the sea for a relevant, interesting surface. And what I think is relevant in this case is that innovation is meeting tradition. There is a high capacity to generate revenues. They are capitalizing important EU instrument, integration with an innovation ecosystem, with capacity of scaling up and get access to finance, and collaboration with public government. Another case I love, which is coming from my past, let's say, engagement in the solar technology, is the Scheffler collector. This was an invention from a German scientist. He made this as an open source technology, so you can download all the details and build this by your own. So very cheap, very accessible, open source, and this is spreading all around the world, including Africa. So you find a number of applications for community kitchen, for processing food, for baking, also in African countries. And I found this very relevant because it's an open innovation, no IP barriers. It's a sophisticated but frugal technology. You can make it in your workshop, high impact. It's employed in many projects, so you will find a lot of references, and there are a lot of donors supporting it. Large community of practice and proven technology with which is safe for small investors as bakers or food processors. This is a great example of scaling up. It was started in Israel by an active researcher coming from academy, but quite engaged in international cooperation projects. This guy he learned about these micro fermenters for biogas making in India. They made a quite nice engineering of it. It is inflatable, very cheap, and they succeeded in getting EU funds through the SME instrument, now is the EIC accelerator. And then they went for an IPO with a value of about 100 million US dollars. So it was a great journey they made. This is the distribution of customers. You see that they are expanding in Africa because it's very suitable for small communities making their own gas from the waste food and residuals. So great innovation from field experience, impacting communities' life. It's tested in many geographies. They got EU funding and then risk finance. And they made a constant innovation through dialogue with customers. Coolbot, smart innovation from the United States. Big problem, the cold chain is very expensive to set up. So they succeeded in transforming a simple insulated box and an air conditioner into a cold chamber. It's very cheap, just bypassing the control of the AC. Great collaboration with the University of California, Davis. So this has been tested and co-developed with them. It's spread all around the world through a number of projects. And it's very relevant because the innovation came from people with this need. So users are not just users, they are inventors. And if they work with academia, incredible things might come. It has been tested and improved in collaboration with academy. The impact is very relevant and the payback is coming immediately. Widely tested worldwide with a number of donors. It's very cheap and accessible. So this is a very disruptive technology which would change the game with just a few hundreds euro of cost. Another example is the Berkeley Darfur stove, which was made by a lab in the Berkeley University, studying the problem of the Darfur refugees, where wood, they have poor access to wood. Of course, wood cooking is very impacting on the environment and also in the health of people cooking. So they made 14 versions of this by interacting with people in the refugee camps. And this is now transferred to small industrial manufacturers and distributors. So you would see here that it's using the camp, but there are small workshops making it, and also Christmas offers and whatever. So, sorry. So this is coming from a top research institution. A lot of improvements with users, great impact for health and environment. And there is a constant innovation here as well in the dialogue with customers. The last example is from South Africa, University of Johannesburg. They are spreading knowledge on aquaponics and sandponics. So you use local sand for making beds for farming vegetables. So you overcome the water shortage because you use just 10% of the water you would use in an open field, and you link this with aquaponics or farming fishes. They work as an open lab, so you can enter this lab and you can cooperate with them. So it's a very living lab model with local capacities and local adaptation. So it's an example of very accessible academic labs. It's making the farming resilient to climate change. Sophisticated knowledge is going into accessible technology. It can be adapted to local needs with proven systems, so it's liable for investors. And it has been already replicated in community farming setups, so it's already in the full deployment stage. So you see that is not complicated. Everything I was showing is working well because of the collaboration of stakeholders. Either the users are inventors, they go to the academy, they co-develop, there is engagement of policymakers, there are donors and investors playing a role there. So it's a matter of moving, and this is what I'm repeating in each session because it's very important we give this message. We start from technological innovations, but we need organizational innovations. So we need associations, community of practice, living labs, a number of mechanisms where you are bringing people together, changing the mindset, and creating the right environment where the technological niches can emerge. We need socio-cultural innovations because we have to work with people to change their mindset, to change the way people are cooking. It's a challenge to change the way people are managing the food after they harvest it. So introducing a cold chain is a challenge. So we have to work on the cultural level through a number of mechanisms. And then we have to institutionalize. So we have to find policymakers saying, yes, we believe in it, and we will create an overarching infrastructure, which might be a consortium, a cluster, a framework, which is keeping these stakeholders together. I tried to keep the time, and I hope this was something interesting for the discussion. And of course, we have to make change and not just wait for others to do that. Otherwise, they will choose for us. Thanks.
Thank you, Fabio.
I think there is a question and answer session. Maybe Timothy should take the lead of it. I'm here, of course, depending upon the schedule and the time we have available for it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Fabio, once again for that interesting presentation and success stories all over the world. I see a couple of hands. Charles, I see your hand is raised. Do you want to unmute and speak? Okay, I'll Yes, Charles, you can unmute yourself and speak. And then we shall have Winnie and then Ania as well. Charles, can you hear me? Please unmute, I think.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much, Fabio, for this great presentation. You even mentioned the agriculture project, which we are doing together also. Actually, I'm from ECRI. My key question to you is, in terms of research and innovation, how many universities or research institutions in Africa you have been so far be able to involve in this project?
Well, it's not about one project, let's say, because there are so many collaborations of EU institutions and also all over the world institutions in with African partners. My personal opinion is that the level I saw in Africa, you know, in our collaborations in One Planet and beyond, I have a lot of experience in north of Africa and a more recent experience in the sub-Saharan one. You have great academic organizations. I think that they are very suitable to drive the change, and also I see a lot of let's say social impact orientation. So they are very passionate and motivated to improve the society. My key point is that we have to create around them and with them a broader partnership, because my main point is not about the academy, it's how they are able to work in a stable way with the society. So it's more opening infrastructures that are, like, as an example, we discussed in Nairobi about going to the slums and making innovation in the slums. So when I will see African academies in slums and making innovation with people in slums, I would be very happy, because this will be a big change in where you make innovation. I hope this makes sense. It's not a matter of how many. I mean, there are so many. The matter is where they are working and if they go out of the fences of the academy.
Thank you very much. So I'll wait for you in Nairobi in October.
Yes, with pleasure. I'm trying to plan a next visit there to see the Living Lab in action. So maybe later than October, but we will meet for sure.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles, for the question. So up next, we do have Winnie. Winnie, in case you're in the audience, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Hi, Winnie. Can you hear me? Please unmute yourself or type in the chat in case you can't speak.
Hello. I'm happy to attend to this meeting, but first of all, I would like us to understand the situation that we are in. Fabio, you were a bit fast, and I haven't gone through very well into the frameworks that you put forward, so that I can understand you very well. But still, maybe let me say something. I think there's a kind of antagonistic forces between the global south and the global north, especially the west. I don't know if you have fixed somewhere, you have put somewhere legal and the regulatory framework as part of your framework for change. I'm not sure. We always claim to say that we need equality, in everything. So somebody coming from the West or global North should be equal to somebody who is from the global South, which has been marginalized for so long. Why am I saying this? Even at I should say my macro level, where we have got the United Nations, you can see the disparities there. That I from Malawi or Malawi's decisions cannot push anything in the United Nations. Let's say, let's say in the Security Council, for example, to punish one of the countries that is breaking the law, the laws that the global community has made. You see, so whenever we are doing everything at social level, we should also be mindful of the law. Who should be enforcing the law? Can anyone from anywhere else come in and say, like Global South, me from Malawi, to say the way corporations from United States or from Europe are behaving in Africa should be punished, and that should be, can that be adhered to?
Thank you, Winnie.
Wait. Let me still say something. So the thing is, I'm happy with the collaboration between the academia as well as maybe at the grassroots. We are trying to do something. We are changing the communities, but then those communities at grassroots are not protected from the macro level, whereby when decisions are made, others are so there's a kind of impunity, kind of. You are saying there's a big oil countries. They are also.
Hi, Winnie. Can you please make it short?
Yeah.
Can you please make it short to allow others attendees to have opportunity to ask their questions?
All right.
Please, can you summarize?
So my worry is all innovations that are being made are not effective, are not received either at the grassroots. Just because we understand at macro level there is also that kind of impunity. Other people do not respect the same things that they propose that we should be changing, and they don't have time to listen to the people.
Winnie, I think I got it. Yeah, I think I got it.
Thank you very much.
And we agree. I mean, you know, it's. I was mentioning that in this let's say innovation game, we have not an open field. So either because of the incumbents in the sector, so you want to develop something that is grassroots based and it's changing the game, but in the field of energy. And you have the big, let's say, oil brothers stopping you in any kind of way they can make it. This is the reality. I mean, it is what we are facing on a global level. Then if we go into the local specific situation in countries and in the continent, but it's not only an African problem. Of course, you have a power game of the post-colonial powers and countries, and the opportunities to develop locally something which is independent. So you have to play with innovation. We should play with innovation. If you see the examples I made, those are all technologies which can be brought at the local level of ownership, and it's not by accident. I mean, what I'm always suggesting is that if we find a technology which is available, like the Scheffler collector, and you can transform this into a local technology, as they did in India, there are much more Indians making business and working around the Scheffler collector than in Europe. And this is what I think Africa should do. And then you bypass the need of big agreements, and which are due because of the the equality in United Nations. But we cannot wait for this because this will happen in centuries. So you have to promote something that is really grassroots, but in a smart way. I mean, understanding the system. And this is my suggestion. I know that it's a short presentation. We might need days to discuss and expand. But I'm trying just to put seeds in your, let's say, debate on the way we might approach innovation in a more equal way for Africa. I hope this makes sense.
It makes sense somehow, but not completely, just because what we are talking about is all the levels should be ready to change. But if others are resisting to change, when they know there are all the solutions that are
Sorry about that. It must be a technical issue. So up next, we do have one of our invited speakers. And I like, Fabio, that you gave a couple of success stories, but most of them I noticed that they are exported solutions trying to adapt or rather scale within Africa. So with the exception of South Africa. On this call, we do have an interesting guest, an interesting innovator with us by the name of Lavinda, who's going to share what she's doing at Klima 360 because she's working on some of those homegrown solutions. And I'm happy to share that Lavinda is a passionate advocate for climate action and the driving force behind Klima 360, an organization dedicated to addressing climate change challenges while advancing climate-inclusive finance for underserved markets. So thank you so much for joining this call, Lavinda, and I would like to hand over to you so that you can share with our audience the work that you're doing around the WEF Nexus as well as climate change and all. Thank you so much. Over to you, Lavinda.
Thank you so much, Timothy. It's a great pleasure to be with everyone who's on the call. I am very excited to be part of the conversation. Thank you, Fabio, for laying the ground. It's good to see that there is other work within the ecosystem being done within the water, energy, and food nexus. Don't know if I'm able to share my screen.
Yes, please.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, awesome. So I will speak on my journey. I started off my journey academically doing natural sciences tripos in the UK. And then I went to South Africa to do mechanical engineering. So I've been well exposed within academia and being part of projects and being part of amazing research projects across the globe and also within the continent. So I'm the standard example of moving from academia to joining the private sector and startup ecosystem to innovate. I'm currently the co-founder CEO of Klima 360, where we're building climate resilient solutions for farmers. How we are doing this is by using Earth observation data or satellite data to develop risk models that can be used by financial institutions to deliver farmer-centric products. It's been an amazing journey of working with different people from academia, from the private sector, and also young innovators to leverage the current technologies that we're seeing to make sure that the solutions that we're building are felt on ground and on the grassroots level. So today I'll speak briefly about how we can scale innovation and build tech-enabled water, energy, food innovations across the private sector, and also what collaboration looks like in that regard. So when it comes to building innovations, one key thing that we always do is focus on the problem. So we ask each startup to really narrow down to what problem are you particularly focusing on. And in this case, when I started my journey, I was very, very happy to come across this nexus, because on ground we were solving climate resilience for farmers, but we needed to understand what it is that they're telling us. What does climate change mean to them? How are the various ways that they're being affected? And one thing that kept coming up is the interplay between water and energy and how that is affecting their harvest. So from one end, someone would talk about drought and how a solar powered irrigation system would be able to help them. And they would tie drought to the amount of energy they are using in terms of diesel to pump, so on and forth. So we started seeing a common pattern where different interplays of this nexus actually contribute to how a farmer is going to harvest, or how a farmer understands how they're affected by climate change. That's why we keep on saying we are building an engine that is in that interplay. So these challenges tend to be interconnected, right? And when it comes to evaluating where the funding is going and how that funding is distributed, you start to see a little bit of the disparities when in that aspect, we see something like water alone. If you look at its economic value, it's over 58 trillion, and it's very wide, right? So we have innovations within industrial waters, which I'll touch on, domestic, that one used for agriculture, so on and forth. So it actually takes a lot of effort to really understand, okay, which part of the ecosystem do I stand in as an innovator? And why do I want to innovate in this space? Am I able to build a viable business model that can sustain my innovation? Because that also becomes very critical when you're looking at innovation in this space. So those are some of the questions that we very early on have to answer. And even with Climate 360 and other startups that we partner with and collaborate with, we've had to sit down and really understand which part of the ecosystem we play in and how we can build viable business models in that. So within the private sector, we see a lot of startups and enterprises. And nowadays it's very hard to ignore technologies like AI. We've seen in the last couple of decades technologies in blockchain and IoT, blockchain tackling a lot of encryption, seeing various ways that the finance sector can also play, helping farmers access international markets in creative ways. We are seeing artificial intelligence coming in still a huge gap standing in, especially when we look at what are the data sources that you're going to use when it comes to trying to use a technology like this one in sectors like agriculture, in understanding water, in understanding energy. Does the continent have enough data sources and frameworks to address that? So with all this changing rapidly, we see a huge need for mentorship, partnership, and funding. Mentorship because not only do we have to catch up as a continent, we also need to try and leapfrog to cover the gap that we need to cover. Partnerships becoming very, very crucial, especially one that I really saw coming in handy in a recent program in Silicon Valley, which I'll talk about a bit later on, where one partnership is able to open up so many resources for a startup, and funding as well. I know there's the complaint that African startups are over-accelerated, underfunded. That's a conversation I won't get in right now. But we see funding playing a very crucial role in scaling and also early market entry. All this need to sort of like happen at the same time, because when it comes to innovators like us who are on ground, we need to deploy some of these solutions fast, especially in the current realities that we live in, such as climate change. So when we look at different innovations, we have innovations within water, within energy, we have the digital platforms, and we have innovations that are within the food transformation and food value chain. In my experience in the field, you always have to find a way to merge, because when a customer is looking at their problem, they're not separating it like water on the side, energy on the side. They think as the problem wholesomely. So it becomes the duty of the innovator to find ways to sort of collaborate and partner and give customer-centric solutions on ground. So I'll just touch on a few examples. Fabio has given a good touch on the different innovations, and I love how you've also highlighted institutions that are playing a part. So I'll give an example of Sand Technologies, which is a startup that has innovated within the water and energy space. And you see them using AI to help either governments or large institutions to make real-time decisions about water leaks, how to optimize, where to put energy grids, so on and forth. You can get some time to check them out. I'll just highlight two of their solutions: the eco-risk visualizer and the hydro-risk visualizer. As you can see here, one is on preventing pollution and enhancing water management with machine learning powered anomaly detection. And the other one gives you, it empowers control rooms with real-time risk intelligence for faster responses, cost savings, and enhanced water network performance. So these are ways that you're seeing technology is not just used in the normal narrations that we are used to in general. So they've really taken time to look into ways that AI can be used to enhance resource use. So I look forward to seeing many more startups coming in and developing large-scale solutions like these. I will particularly also touch on Climate 360, which I'm the co-founder CEO, where we're building resilience for those who feed the world. It's been a journey trying to first narrow down to exactly how we can make this a reality for farmers. As you know, smallholder farmers are some of the most difficult demographics to innovate in. You get an interplay of so many stakeholders, and you really need to understand what it means for the solution to reach the grassroots levels. However, we've been able to plug into various models and various players within the ecosystem to be able to really narrow down to, okay, how do we break down the data we are seeing on ground? How do we explain this to banks, to insurance companies? How do we explain this to data players? And also, where do we access the right talent to be able to build for this? So that's usually the challenges that young innovators or just innovators in general have to face on ground, because you have the reality of what the problem gives, and at the same time, when you deliver it, it has to be delivered in a customer-centric way and at the same time make business sense. So at Climate 360, our journey has been simple. We started by making sure that our solution is scalable by taking advantage of Earth observation data. We had to invite a lot of interplayers to design the modular engine to make sure that the solution that we're giving makes sense to large players like banks, MFIs, and we also had to center ourselves to make sure that what we are delivering is farmer-centric. And how the water, energy, food nexus comes in is this meant that we needed to understand the water challenges for the farmers, the energy challenges for the farmers, how they interplay and result into what they see either as harvest or how they are predicting their markets, which has been a good learning journey in how to bridge the gap between academia, research, and not invent everything from scratch, but at the same time making sure that we are keeping the solution lean. So there are different challenges that we see. There are clear gaps between where the economic value is and where the funding is going. So that's one of the challenges that I foresee need to be addressed. We also see slow tech adoption in traditional sectors. For example, in our case, if you're going to partner with the financial sector, then you really need to understand what tech adoption needs for them. We see fragmented markets and complex regulatory hurdles that you need to navigate as a startup, and emerging financing models and robust ecosystem support that are critical to de-risking the investments that are going within this space. So my call would be to find the intersection between how startups are empowered or mentored and how they are connected. So it's not just very, very essential, because that's where partnerships play, and partnerships really go a long way in making sure that the startups have the viable traction, that their business models are making sense, and that they are sustainable. So I'll give an example in this next slide of a recent experience of mine. As I mentioned, I was in Silicon Valley for about a month, just learning how innovation has been happening there over the last decades. And as we know, what is relevant there might not necessarily be transferable within our context, but there are things that we can learn. So you see that they benefit off of years of research from institutions like Stanford, an immense pool of talent of AI engineers, people in the tech space, people in finance, who are able to catalyze growth within the Silicon Valley ecosystem, and at the same time their own narrative of who their real world users are, and developing solutions that are relevant to that. So that is something that I'd like to see more in the region, where we have a lot of participation from the tons and tons of research that has been happening on the continent over time. If we can structure that into a scalable hub that partners with innovation spaces, to make sure that startups are not reinventing the wheel when it comes to some areas like climate change, agriculture, energy, health, etc., just to know that some of the research that has taken place can support the innovation spaces and innovators that we have, because at the same time, this is me within the spaces, and at the same time, working with farmers on ground, trying to translate all these pieces of knowledge and information into practical solutions. So that would ideally be my call: scale the solutions, empower with strong partnerships, and at the same time, enough funding to be able to enter market and build solutions that are sustainable. Thank you. Thank you. I invite any questions.
Thank you, Lavinda, for that awesome presentation and sharing the work that you're doing at Klima 360. So for questions, I see Anaya, who has their hand up. Anaya, do you want to unmute and ask your question? Please make it short to allow other people as well to ask any questions. Thank you. Yes, you can unmute now. Anaya, please try unmuting because we have given you permission to speak. Okay. Must be an issue.
Oh, hi. It's working now. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. Thank you. Firstly, thank you, Timothy, for pronouncing my name correctly. Anaya here. And thank you, Fabio, for your presentation. I found that it was quite concise and understandable. And Lavender, I really do appreciate you providing your personal experience in just trying to push forward the green innovation sector. As someone who works in the policymaking field, my question to both you and Fabio, if there's time for both of you all to tag team and answer, is how can organizations or entities that are working to enable or create enabling environments for those in the green sector, for startups, for small businesses, how can they concretely support the creation of policies that create a favorable environment? So, for instance, would you have any examples of what is most needed in terms of policy making, policy creation, and what voices must be included in the policy making process? Thank you.
Thank you, Naya, for that question. I think I'll touch on it briefly on 2 points. One is just the general understanding of what of the important role that policy plays when it comes to innovation. I think a lot of innovators come to terms with this a little bit later on, whereas they could have been able to position themselves right in markets. So that's one thing that I see is a huge gap. There's also a lot of assumption on where policy comes to play, especially now with so many different advancements that we have. Like every day you wake up, there's something new. But there's also the fear that innovations can be held back sometimes with policy. So there's a lot of misinformation of where policy comes to play. And finding this sector-specific information sometimes takes a lot of work, as opposed to how easy it is to find information on other topics and themes. So that's one gap that's usually huge in that space. I don't think it takes much to have the innovators on the table when it comes to policy, but first there's that initial hindrance of what that means to them and the role that it plays early on. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you so much. It does. It sounds like there needs to be more interaction between all ecosystem actors, and mostly between those who are affected by the policies and the decision makers. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I look forward to finding more ways to make sure that those who are making decisions and those who are affected by decisions can have more dialogue, because you're right. The information sometimes isn't, you're not sure about what's true. It takes time. So it's good to have that connection with the decision makers and those who are affected. So thank you.
Absolutely, spot on.
Quickly, if I would also come in here from now, the innovation support direction. I think one thing I'd also want to add, and I add to a simple layer, is beyond getting the innovators, for example, or the people affected by these policies in the room. The next, I think what has always hindered, and from personal experience, is picking what they've said and putting it actually into practice. There's so many white papers that have been designed where the innovators and ESOs were in the room when they're being collected. But then when it comes to actually using them, there's now a lot of inside the bureaucracy and everything. It's like, okay, well, it doesn't align with this, or it doesn't align with this and things like this. So beyond getting them in the room, how do you, as a policymaker, guarantee that the policy will translate into action on ground. Actually, I think it's a conversation you should probably have internally with yourselves. Thank you. Yeah, over to you, Timothy.
Fabio. All right, thank you, Anna, for the question, Lavender and Baluku for chipping in on that. So next in line, we do really need to spice up the panel and also the discussion is Salma. Salma from Impact Hub Africa. So Salma will be providing some insights from the investor's perspective, coming from both the investor and also the private sector. She understands how the ecosystem works, and she's able to translate this and share some of her experience running a startup or running Impact Hub, and also across the diverse sectors, interacting with all of them. So thank you so much, Salma, for joining us today. We are really excited and eager to hear from you and your experiences. So over to you, Salma.
Thank you so much, and hello everyone. Very happy to be here with you today. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Impact Lab, which is a startup accelerator working on supporting Pan-African startups based here in Casablanca. We've been doing that for the past 10 years, and really the one thing that we're focusing on is bridging those collaboration and those bridges between the startup ecosystem and the private sector, the investor ecosystem, governments as well, to really create innovations that are scalable and able to impact people on the highest issues on the continent. And I'm very happy to be talking today about catalytic capital. I think this is something that's very important now, that we need to change our perspective on how we think about investment, and catalytic capital is the step towards that direction, and it's especially relevant for the water, energy, food nexus approach, because obviously it's a very complex topic. We're trying to solve challenges like food insecurity, water stress, energy access, with all the social dynamics at stake and all the social implications to populations. And these projects have some characteristics that make them can make them difficult to fund for, let's say, traditional funding sources. First, they're capital intensive. They usually require significant front investment that take time to really turn into profit. And so you have to have funders that are willing to wait for that profit to materialize. Second thing is that they usually involve multiple stakeholders. They usually require community engagement. They require engagement of public institutions, local organizations, private sector, and making all this come together also takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of resources. So in addition to that capital or the infrastructure part, there is also the human part, let's say, and stakeholder management part that's very important and that requires significant upfront resources. And the last characteristic of these projects that impact the access to funding is that they have a lot of positive externalities, positive impacts that are not calculated, or they're usually undervalued when we're looking at return on investment metrics, what investors traditionally look at from a pure financial perspective. And so it makes them less attractive to traditional investors, because all those positive impacts they can have, whether on the environment, on society, on communities, these are not taken into account when calculating the return on investment. The good news is that there is no shortage of innovation in this field. So we've supported at Impact Lab more than 350 startups across the continent in the last 10 years. And more than 50% of them are focused on solving water, energy, or food challenges, whether through solutions that enable smallholder farmers to make better decisions in their operations, or reduce water consumptions, or new mobility solutions that use sustainable energy sources, or waste recycling solutions. We see a lot of innovators, African innovators, coming up with really solid solutions to these challenges. But these projects usually have a pattern of risk and return that do not fit the traditional investors. And this is where catalytic capital comes into play. So catalytic capital, I'll explain what it is, because not everyone might be familiar with it. The idea of catalytic capital is to say we provide funding that is more risk tolerant and more flexible and more patient. It means that it's capital that takes into account the reality of some projects that are that have a high impact component, and that might have financial returns that can materialize over a longer period of time than what traditional investors are expecting. And it's not really capital that is supposed to replace the traditional capital. It's really capital that enables it. Capital that says, you know, there are some instruments that can take on a higher level of risk, so that the traditional sources of capital can come in, and together we can create some impactful actions and finance impactful projects at a large scale. And when we talk about catalytic capital, we often talk about blended finance, which means we would be combining different sources of capital that have different risk appetites, or different, metrics associated to them, and that bring in, more risk, financing that is more open to risk, in order to attract financing that can be maybe more risk averse or more traditional, to gather the funding required for a high impact project. And these new types of funding are here to make the traditional funders attract them more to these type of projects. So I'll give some examples of these types of instruments. There are different instruments out there. We can talk about, so the most basic one will be grants from donors or government, that will be able to reduce the amount of funding that the project would require. We also have what we call concessional loans, which are loans that can be given by a development bank or a government, that will be below market interest rates, with grace periods incorporated in them, repayment terms that are more flexible depending on the cash inflows of the project itself. And having this type of funding will reduce the risk of the overall project. We also have some instruments that can be equity instruments, but with first loss guarantees integrated in them. So the investor that would take part in a round of funding, usually involving, let's say, more traditional investors, the one providing catalytic capital will be willing to take on first losses. So the first losses will impact the return of that initial investor, the catalytic investor, in order to protect the returns of the more traditional investors. So that's also something that makes it easier for, let's say, higher risk or longer return projects to raise traditional capital if you have these type of instruments. You also have investors that are willing to invest with longer exit timelines without the pressure of generating returns in a very short time frame. And you also have result-based finance, where you also disburse capital as you go, depending on the capacity of the project to hit certain milestones. And this also helps shift, let's say, alleviate the risk-return dynamic within these types of projects. One thing that's very important to understand is the reason why some of these investors are willing to take that extra risk is really about the way they calculate return. And there's really a shift that needs to happen in the way investors look at projects in general, to be able to integrate those positive impacts that the project is generating beyond the financial returns. And there's a lot of this is a conversation that is starting within the investor ecosystem in Africa, but there's a lot still to be developed in terms of models and frameworks to integrate these impacts and make them more accessible and more widespread. So I wanted to give a couple of examples of how these blended finance or catalytic capital instruments can work. We can talk about a solar irrigation startup in Kenya that's called Sun Culture. It's a climate tech startup that's offering pay-as-you-go solar irrigation pumps. This is very interesting because it's allowing smallholder farmers to access solar-powered irrigation systems with no upfront costs for them, and with payments, micropayments that are disbursed as the farmer uses the source of energy. And this is a startup that managed to raise a Series B round of close to $28 million, combining equity, debt, grant, and carbon financing. And this was led by an organization called Infraco Africa, which played a key role in structuring the round and mobilizing other, let's say, traditional funders, as well as corporates like EDF to complete the full round. And what's also interesting in the way this organization works is that they not only provide funding, but also bring expertise into the package, let's say, and are able to support the startups in the development of their technology and their business model. There's also another example that I wanted to talk about. This is a Moroccan startup called Sowit that's offering a range of solutions to optimize water use and help farmers make better decisions in their operations through drone use and satellite images. And this is also a startup that benefited from a first round of investment that was provided partially from the Moroccan government with a first loss guarantee fund. So it's a fund where the Moroccan government was willing to take on the first losses associated with the investment, which allowed then to mobilize other investors, private investors, institutional investors, international donors as well, to finance the startup. And what's really interesting in this example also is that through this investment and through the data that was collected and the technologies that were put together by the startup, it created a positive loop where the startup could also, let's say, provide catalytic capital or insurance for the farmers themselves, who could then start accessing micro loans, micro insurance for their operations. And I think this is a very nice example of like a virtuous cycle of catalytic funding. So to conclude and to wrap up on this, I think there are two things for me that are very important in this field and in making these WEF Nexus projects a success, and we've heard it from the other panelists today, is collaboration. I think this is something that's been repeated throughout the webinar today. The collaborative approach is the only way to create and scale innovations, especially in this sector. And every part of the equation needs to be strong enough. So we need to have a strong African innovation ecosystem. When we talk about ecosystem, it means the R&D, it means the universities, it means the incubators and accelerators, it means the investors and the different types of funders. We need to have a regulatory context also that's favorable, that allows for these types of instruments to take place, and that protect investors that want to invest through, let's say, different or innovative funding instruments. And this will give them the space to then create and be innovative in the type of instruments that are created. And then we obviously need those institutional players, whether they are government or large corporates, to be open to collaborations, to realize that they need to reach out to those startups and value and trust the startup ecosystem, the African startup ecosystem, to bring them a solution to the key challenges that they're facing. And they need to be ready and for win-win collaboration. And the second thing that for me is critical is what I talked about already earlier, is the change of mindset in investors. We see today organizations that are working towards a holistic return on investment measure that take into account environmental impact and social impact beyond the financial returns. But they're still very, let's say, there are only a few of these types of investors, and I think the more traditional investors should be helped, to with the tools and the frameworks to help them upgrade, let's say, the way they're thinking about investments to incorporate that holistic ROI approach, and realize that we cannot be solving our resources challenges today with the capital models that we used in the past century. So thank you very much, and I'm open to questions.
Thank you so much, Salma, for sharing quite interesting insights from the funding landscape within Africa. So I'm sure a lot of people here have been curious to know how they can tap into that, or how to align what they're doing with that. So in case anyone has any questions, please raise your hand or type within the Q&A section. Okay. Winnie, I see your hand is up.
Well, thank you so much. That was a great presentation. It's interesting the way things are happening in our world. First of all, you have talked about catalytic kind of investment. That's a very good one. And we have got the conventional investment, which is most of the times out of the reach of most of the startups in Africa. The question is, first of all, let me say African readers recently we are talking about we are tired of being a sight of pity, that everything has to be done to us due to pitying us. But we want to collaborate. We want people to come together and make decisions and follow through those decisions. So here, what you are saying is an agreement to say, out there, people are not responsible enough. And even that catalytic investment, as of now, is not enough. And we need more for some startups in Africa and elsewhere to receive, so that they can grow their businesses. Those businesses are in the area whereby we are trying to fight against climate change, which is a responsibility of each and every one of us. So how do you think we are going to make these people that have got that base their decisions on the bottom line? What's in it for me instead of responsibility? Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks and your questions. I think one thing that's very important to understand is that when we talk about catalytic capital, it's not charity. It's not just grants because we need to help people, poor African entrepreneurs make it. We're really talking about rethinking the funding models to make them more relevant and structured in the right way to solve our main challenges, and to help to provide the resources for the talent that is finding solutions. I think of course there's always room to grow this, and I think really the reality of things is that institutional players or private sector players are going to mobilize when they see that they don't have a choice anymore. So today, there are climate change impacts that are very real. In Morocco, for example, we've had, a drought for the past 6 years, I would say. And today, there are farmers that are no longer able to work on their farms, and they have to, let everything die. And this is a reality that government can't ignore. And it's a reality that is catching up with the big agricultural players as well, which means that today they don't have a choice but to be open and to look for immediate solutions for these very real problems that are hitting their bottom lines today, or if we're talking about private sector, or creating, social risks within the country. So I think, there we see more and more organizations that are aware of this because they don't have a choice anymore, and because the consequences can be really terrible for people, for the citizens, and for the economies.
Thank you, Salma. I think that answers Winnie's question. Is there anyone else with a question before we wrap up? All right, great. Thank you once again, all, for those who shared some of their questions that they had. And I will also want to especially thank our speakers for the great insights they have shared from their different perspectives and experiences working within the ecosystem, both from innovations, from the innovation ecosystem as builders, as investors, as practitioners, as ecosystem support organizations and all. I wanted to spotlight Fabio again. Fabio, I know you're working on the Living Labs, and I think it's something that a lot of people in this in our audience would be really curious to know how they can be part of it, or how to join. I know as One Planet we are working on that. So would you be kind enough to share about at least something small about the Living Labs that's coming up that you're working on at Cyprus Institute?
Yes, I can share a few, let's say, a few thoughts and plans. We went through a co-design session with colleagues from Strathmore University, because they are going to host the Living Lab, and in collaboration with the other partners of One Planet. So the idea is that we will embed in the Strathmore this process of working, having the users at the center of the Nexus innovation. We found a couple of specific topics which are critical, especially you were mentioning in the discussion. There was important point on policy making. Well, there are good policies which are not implemented, for example, in water management in the urban area, which might help a lot if they would be put into action. So the Living Lab should work on it with people and in specific places, generating also business and wealth. We hope to establish this by October, and then inviting key stakeholders. And then it will be upon Strathmore to further develop it. As we are probably getting an extension of the project, I hope that in 6 months this will be brought to a further level of maturity. So everybody who has an interest can just drop an email to me or to the team in Strathmore University and follow up the establishment of the Living Lab.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Fabio, for that. So in case anybody is interested in that, you can please reach out to Fabio or just reach out to us on one of our social media platforms for One Planet, and we'll be able to connect you with the people you're interested in getting in touch with. So I'd also like to highlight that at One Planet, we're also working on a knowledge hub. This is just to enhance the capacity building for our stakeholders, and through the different skill sets to be able to enhance their skills in regards to the WEF Nexus. So in case you're interested in building up your skills within the WEF Nexus, please check out our our knowledge hub, where you'll be able to access a variety of things, such as the One Planet Academy, which has a lot of modules around the WEF Nexus, as well as other things that we are currently building in the pipeline. And for those who are really interested in joining the One Planet stakeholder community and being part of it and learning about the ongoing developments within the project, you can always reach out to us by subscribing to our newsletter, or just sending us an email so that we can add your organization or your organization to our database, so that we can always be in touch with you with any new developments or tools that we are currently developing. So yes, over the next couple of months, we do have a few webinars coming up, more focused on the policy aspect of the project. So getting a policy makers roundtable, where we shall get to share some of the output from the policy standpoint from the One Planet project. So please watch out for any promotions on our social media platforms. Still just announcing this upcoming event. So yes, we are happy for each one of you for making the time to join us today. I would like to thank you all. I'd also like to especially thank our fantastic speakers, Fabio, Salma, Lavender, who have been able to share and make time to share some of their insights and experiences with us all today. So thank you so much, all. If you're looking to stay more engaged or rather stay updated, please check out our One Planet, the One Planet social media platforms. If you're on LinkedIn, or if you are on Twitter, any social media platform that you're on, we shall be able to see what's going on or any upcoming events that are coming up. So thank you so much. I don't know if Fabio or Salma or Lavender, you have anything else to say before we close off? Any last remarks?
Thank you all, and I think the One Planet project is really the type of initiative that can help accelerate all these elements that we've been talking about in the last couple of hours.
Yeah, I agree, Salma. It's